Welcome to section 5.5, solve absolute value equations. Now, absolute values are a way of just asking how far is the answer of the inside of this stuff away from zero. So if you have a number line and we think of zero at the center, we can have 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. If we ask, what's the absolute value of -3, that's asking how far is -3 away from zero. Distance is never negative, so it has to be a positive answer, and that would be 1, 2, 3 away from zero. So the absolute value of -3 is 3. Or you could ask how far is +3 away from zero? Well, that's also 1, 2, 3, which would be 3. In other words, if you think about this more mathematically, or what does it actually do to your stuff? Absolute values, first and foremost, act like parentheses. And so when you're doing order of operations, treat them like they're parentheses. So that's thing one. Thing number two, whatever your answer is on the inside of the parentheses, it makes that answer positive. So looking at this first example, the absolute value of x is equal to +7. Well, that means the number on the inside of those parentheses is 7 away from 0. So we'll actually have two answers in this case. One is that x equals 7, because the number 7 is 7 away from 0. Or there was the possibility that it was actually a -7 that was then made positive by those absolute values. So our second answer will be x equals -7. So now that we're working with absolute value equations, you will frequently have two answers, and they might not even look similar, especially the more complicated these get. So in this one, x minus 3 is absolute valued, and that equals 8. Well, that means the absolute value, so what was on the inside of those parentheses, came out to an answer that was positive, and then the absolute value made it positive, so it stayed as just 8. So we have one option of x minus 3 is equal to a positive 8. Or x minus 3 might have actually been a negative answer in which the absolute value made it positive. So x minus 3 might also have made it a negative 8. Now we can go ahead and solve these. So add 3 to both sides, and we'll get an x equals 11. So there's one of our answers. Or the other one, we can add 3 to both sides. Now we get an x equals -5. And there's our other answer. So like I said, our answers here don't actually have to look the same. They might, but they don't have to. Let's try a more complicated one. So when you're solving these, the first thing you want to do is get it down to just being the absolute value on one side and the number on the other side. So let's go ahead and add 5 to both sides first. So we'll get 3, absolute value of 2x minus 7 equals 9. Now we can go ahead and divide by 3 to get the absolute values by themselves. So we get the absolute value of 2x minus 7 is equal to 3. Now remember, when you get it down to just the absolute values, you have two different options. The first is your answer came out to be positive. So you might have a 2x minus 7 equals a positive 3. Or it might have come out to be negative, and the absolute values turned it positive. So we could also have the option of 2x minus 7 equals -3. Well, now we can go and add 7 to both sides. Get a 2x equals 10, divide both sides by 2, x equals 5. So there's one of our answers. And the other, we can add 7 to both sides. 2x equals +4. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 2. And there's our other answer. In this case, both answers actually came out to be positive. But when you did the work, at some point, the absolute value would have been of a negative number, at least for the second case. Let's try another one. The absolute value of 3x plus 5 plus 6 is then equal to -2. Well, if we subtract that 6 first from both sides, get an absolute value of 3x plus 5, and that's going to equal negative 8. Well, here's the trick. Can the absolute value of something ever be a negative number once you evaluate it? No, it can't. It always turns stuff positive. So no matter what was on the inside of that absolute value, it couldn't come out to be a negative answer. So this one actually has no solution. I will warn you, I'm going to require you to put a question like that on your tests. So be ready for that one to show up. Other than that, good luck. Shoot me an email if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.